This is the best place to get your comic book movie fix. Comic Book Cinema. Introducing your host. He has the strength of Hawkeye, the charm of Ghost Rider, and the humble attitude of Bruce Wayne. Right after he buys your mom's house, Mr. Jonathan May.
What's going on, comic book movie fans? My name is Jonathan, this is Comic Book Cinema, and today we're going to get into a little bit of comic book movie news. When looking at the comic book movie news from this week, the most glaring item, the biggest thing that sticks out to me, is the fact that when some of the Warner Brothers executives were spoken to by Variety, they made it seem like Ezra Miller as the Flash was not completely off the table. For those of you that don't know, just a quick recap. Ezra Miller has been in and out of a lot of trouble in the past couple years, ranging from bar incidents to throwing women on the ground to getting arrested multiple times. And most recently, he was involved in some less than savory charges that might or might not have involved him grooming a child. His name has been surrounded in controversy as of late, and it's also astonished fans how Warner Brothers has basically not done anything in this scenario. Not even a slap on the wrist. And now, after everything that's come out, and the most we've gotten from Ezra Miller was an apology, and they are still considering keeping this individual in the role of the Flash. It's just mind-boggling to me. Especially when we look back to how studios in the past have handled similar situations. I wouldn't even call this a similar situation, but back 3-4 years ago, whenever James Gunn had some controversial tweets that reemerged from like 8-9 years later, and Disney literally fired him. This is one of their top directors that created one of their biggest cash flow franchises, and they fired this director for that. And of course, we know the history here. All these other movie studios started lining up and kissing his feet and throwing money at him. This is how James Gunn got his foot in the door at DC and Warner. And it kind of makes you wonder, if this whole incident never would have happened, would James Gunn ever be in the position that he's in now at DC and Warner? Would he be in a higher ranking position over at Disney? Would Dave Batista be a lot more open to staying in the role of Drax for a longer extended amount of time? Because when this happened, it also created a bit of friction between all the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy and Disney Studios. And the most outspoken of all of them was definitely Dave Batista as Drax. But we'll get more to that here in just a bit. So when looking at how Disney handled, something that was just so minor, I mean, very controversial tweets granted, but this is something that he tweeted years and years ago. And then we look at the Ezra Miller situation, it is just, like I said earlier, absolutely insane. The fact that they would still even remotely consider the possibility of keeping him around as the Flash is just mind-boggling. Especially after they fired Henry Cavill, one of the most beloved Superman portrayals of all time. He's still in the prime of his life. I don't think he's over 45. He at least has another 5 to 8 good solid years left playing the role of Superman. And it's well documented they've already axed Ben Affleck, who some fans like, some fans don't. I personally like him as Batman, but I get why they let him go. But my whole thing is this. Why would you start firing actors, rebooting certain aspects of your universe, but not rebooting everything? I have begun to digress here, but what I'm trying to say is all these changes, all these actors axed, and previous situations that were somewhat similar to this, but way less serious. And at the end of the day, Warner Brothers is still considering keeping Ezra Miller as the Flash. I don't care how successful this film is, and a lot of people are saying, by the way, that this film is one of the greatest comic book movies of all time. At least that's what they're saying, the people that have screen tested and seen this movie already. God knows it's been ready long enough. And color me excited. I can't wait to see the film. But like I said, no matter how successful this film is, Warner Brothers should not even remotely consider keeping someone around that is engulfed in so much controversy and has created so many PR problems for them as a studio. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. I mentioned Drax earlier, and recently in several different interviews, Batista has made it very clear that this will be his last appearance as Drax in the MCU. A lot of fans have speculated, well, that must mean he's going to die in this film. Maybe so, which it's a very high possibility, and maybe not. Like I said earlier, whenever James Gunn was fired for those controversial tweets by Disney, Batista had a lot of not so savory things to say about Disney, and he firmly planted his foot in the ground and defended James Gunn in that scenario. Which rightfully so. I mean, James Gunn really kind of gotten Batista his first major Hollywood role, and Batista has a lot to be grateful for from James Gunn. This really doesn't surprise me. I didn't see Dave Batista coming back after this film anyway. And I hate to say this, folks, but Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I highly expect at least half or more of the Guardians that we know and love now to die. That's just a prediction. That's not a spoiler. That's just what I personally think. I could be way off base on this, or I might hit the nail right on the head. Heck, all the Guardians of the Galaxy might end up dying in this film. Only time will tell. So another hot topic as of late has been the trending hashtag on Twitter and various other social media, hashtag Fire James Gunn. And this is what I'll say about this. Like I said, I had a lot of problems with the former DCEU, and I have some problems with some of the decisions that James Gunn has made since he first came into this role. Of course, I didn't want him to fire Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill is amazing as Superman. And on top of that, I'm of the mindset that if you're going to reboot some things, you need to reboot everything. Start from scratch, recast every character, and give us something completely fresh. Well, it seems as though, at least from what we've seen as of late, that he's going to do something somewhere in the middle. Like I said, that's not my favorite option, but at this time, I'm going to trust James Gunn. Every project he's ever put out has been stellar. All the Guardians movies, the Peacemaker show on HBO Max, and of course, some of his cult classics that came out before, Super, Slither. I think that we should all pump the brakes, no matter how we feel about James Gunn or some of the decisions that he's made as of late. Let's give him a couple years. Let's see how things are going. And I admire the passion of the Restore the Snyder Verse, to hashtag Restore the Snyder Verse fans. But guys, I got news for you. At this point, Snyder is not coming back. I don't care how viral this gets or how trending this hashtag becomes. Zack Snyder is not coming back. Him and Warner Brothers have officially parted ways. Maybe not forever, but for a very, very long time. All I'm saying is, let's give Warner Brothers a chance. Okay, so we have talked about this in the past before, and I'll start by saying this. I always say this on the show, but I love The Rock. I think he's an awesome human being. A lot of the things that he has accomplished in Hollywood at his age and after leaving the wrestling world are very impressive. I'm not sure that we'll ever see a wrestler leave WWE or any wrestling company and emerge as such a huge commodity in Hollywood like he has. And I like a lot of his films. Heck, I even liked Black Adam. But after everything was said and done, Black Adam was officially deemed a flop at the box office. With a budget of nearly $200 million and reshoots costing up to $40 million, the film closed out at the box office with a grand total of $391 million. We can't forget about promotional costs and everything else. At the end of the day, if this film did eke by and make a little bit of change, it wasn't much. A lot of this is really disheartening. I thought it was going to be cool to see Henry Cavill and The Rock fight on screen, but like we talked about early in the video, Henry Cavill's already been axed, now The Rock has been axed, and Jason Momoa has been axed as Aquaman, and Wonder Woman 3 has been axed. Although James Gunn recently tweeted saying that Gal Gadot is not necessarily leaving the role of Wonder Woman. So there's a lot going on at DC, a lot of shuffling pieces and moving parts. Only time will tell what will happen in the future, and us fans will just have to sit back and see. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Check us out on TikTok and Instagram at Real Comic Book Cinema. You can find us on Facebook. Also, go over to Patreon. Check us out there, patreon.com/comicbookcinema. And if you would prefer to listen to this in podcast form, check us out at Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and various other formats. That's all from me today, and until next time, have a good one.